Check, check, check. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Sell, and I work with the Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship Innovation here at Michigan State. And I would like to welcome you to the kickoff to the 2023-24 Innovate State Speaker Series. Thank you so much for being here today. Let me get a gauge of our audience here. So how many of you are first-year students here at Michigan State? Excellent. How many of you are second-year students? Juniors? Seniors? Nice. And then let me ask, how many of you are community members, faculty, staff? Do we have any in the room? I think we might have a few joining us. Yes, we do. Thank you. Perfect. And then how many of you, this is your first Innovate State experience at Michigan State? Love it. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. So for those of you that are getting acquainted with Innovate State for the first time, know that this is a speaker series that we've been hosting for about a decade now at Michigan State. And we have now scaled to the point where we welcome back accomplished entrepreneurs, founders, innovators, creators, alumni of Michigan State on a frequent basis. So we kind of getting into a cadence where every few weeks we have someone coming back to campus. So not only are we kicking off tonight with an amazing speaker and alum who will be sharing his story here in a moment, but in 2 weeks we have another guest coming back, Tamira Chapman. She's an alumna of Michigan State, an accomplished general counsel at a pretty big automotive company, and then also an entrepreneur herself who will be coming here in a few short weeks to talk more about her story. So if you are loving what you are hearing this evening, put a note in your calendar, Wednesday, September 27th, and then again, go to eship.msu.edu because we'll be bringing back speakers every couple weeks throughout the fall, winter, and spring of this academic year. In addition to Innovate State, you should know that Burgess Institute hosts a wide variety of programming and events that are really tailored to our student community here at Michigan State. That includes a flagship event that coincidentally we are actually hosting this weekend. So anyone here registered for Venture Summit by chance? Excellent. I see some hands throughout the room. Wonderful. Venture Summit is a celebration of all things entrepreneurship here at MSU. It's our second annual version of the event taking place tomorrow and Saturday. We welcome back hundreds of alumni, students, staff, community members, and faculty to experience speakers, to get a chance to interact with our students that are in the venture creation program, and get a chance to celebrate our scholarship recipients and some of the best things that are happening in our program. So if you've not registered for that, but you're looking to learn more about our program and celebrate with us, go to eship.msu.edu and you'll find more information for that event. We are still taking registrations. In addition to that, we've also got some really neat programs that I'm not going to name drop all the dates and times, but we run a program called 2-Day Venture, 4 times a year, twice in the fall, twice in the spring. I see some nods heading. Anyone done 2-Day Venture before? Oh, excellent. Wonderful. Super fun experience, right? Yep, I see nodding heads. So if you are enrolled in the minor, it's an incredible experience that you can count as part of the requirements for the academic minor in entrepreneurship. And just generally speaking, it is a super high impact, fun program. Some of the best venture creation ideas that have come through the Burgess Institute can find their genesis or really the inception of their idea at a 2-day venture. So you get to come here, you form a team, we feed you handsomely throughout the 2 days. And it's just a great time where at the end of that 36 hours, you get to pitch, your team gets to pitch an idea to a panel of judges. So we highly encourage you to put those on the calendar. Again, 4 times a year. If you go to one, you might love it so much, you'll do it again. So highly encourage you to consider doing that. If you have other questions about entrepreneurship in Michigan State, because again, you all are representing different majors here at the university, come find one of our staff members, myself, our faculty director, who I'll be introducing here in a moment, and other staff that will be here frequently at Innovate State are happy to talk to you more if you have questions before or after about how do I get more involved, how do I get enrolled in the minor, what classes are there for entrepreneurship. As Mark was telling me earlier today, our esteemed guest, when he was a student at Michigan State, this program didn't exist. And so everything that you're getting access to and resources to weren't an opportunity for him when he was a student. So I think he'll impart some lessons on you today about taking advantage of those resources whenever you can. Without further ado, I want to get to tonight's guest. And so our featured alum this evening has had a remarkable career and not to say the least, also brewed some of my most favorite beer. So if any of you who are over the age of 21, of course, have ever had Atwater beer, Mark Rieth was a former owner of Atwater, scaled it to the point where it was the fourth largest craft brewery in the state of Michigan out of over 350 craft breweries. That was after a successful automotive career. Now is on to new ventures, including FÜL Beverages, which he'll be talking about this evening. And if you didn't get a chance yet, as he holds up a can, we've got samples over there that he generously provided to all of you to try tonight. So it's an incredible opportunity to experience someone who's kind of in the trenches building a new venture as we speak. And so if you could all join me, in fact, I'll introduce not just Mark, but also my colleague and faculty director, Dr. Laura Offstein, who will be moderating tonight's conversation. She leads our program at the Burgess Institute, and again, we'll happily talk to you after tonight's program and beyond about opportunities for engaging in the Burgess Institute. So without further ado, if you can join me in welcoming both Dr. Laura Offstein and Mark Rieth to the stage.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Is this working?
I think so.
All right. What's up? Come on. Get some excitement going in this room. You guys need to fuel up.
That's right. Please feel free to go get some. Oh, sorry. I have to turn this way. I have to speak to you, Mark, so that my mic works. Please go get some samples. So if you're close to the food table, please eat some pizza, eat some salad, and definitely drink some fuel. So. Great. Well, thanks for that introduction. Welcome back to MSU. So we're glad to bring our alums back. You started in Detroit. Your journey took you to many different industries and different states. And I look forward to hearing about this diverse journey along with everyone else through our conversation tonight. So since we have many students here, can you tell us a little bit about your time on campus as a marketing major in the Broad College?
Yes. Well, it all started here. That's for sure. So I was here from 85 to 89. So I graduated in 89, BA in business. And I did general business because at that point, which a lot of you probably understand now, is I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I'll just sign up for business and let's see where it goes. And then realized along the way that I wanted to know everything I could about all aspects of the business. So, and I kind of told the story about when I was here, I lived, I had a kind of a diverse time here. So lived in Holden. Anybody in Holden? All right, yeah, One West Holden. It was called Skid Row back then. I don't think it is now. I hope not, for a lot of different reasons. But great time. That was a good spot because it was kind of centrally located. Had a great experience in the fraternity world, so that was great. And then lived off campus again for my final 2 years. Decided to come back because I loved it so much for a fifth year, just to make sure that I had a full understanding of my scholastic endeavors. And graduated, was able to get a job with Toyota Motor Sales out of California. So I got a chance to transfer from here to California, and they actually paid me. I'm like, you're going to transfer me there, and I actually get a paycheck? So that was a lot of fun. So I can get into that too, but I know you probably got some more questions.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. That's great. I mean, so thinking about your first career out of college, because many students are getting to the point where they might have their first career, some getting ready to graduate. So, you know, what were you hoping to achieve at that point in your career when you were leaving MSU?
Just to get a job. I mean, really, to be honest with you, that was most important to me. I knew that I wanted to be in some form of business, but I didn't know exactly what. So I still didn't know as a 21-year-old. So it was great to be able to go to a company in the beginning. We didn't have entrepreneurship back then, so that really wasn't even in my mindset. I didn't have a family business, so it's not like I was going to go back to work in the family shop or the family business. So Toyota enabled me to be able to go into a management training program, and I learned all aspects of, you know, finance to marketing to general business to distribution. I got to learn all about a large-scale company, which was extremely important. And then I got transferred to Boston and went to a regional office and kind of got into sales and marketing at that point, and called on car dealers and was able to get out and sell and have service and talk to customers and dealers and whatnot. So it was, I kind of found my niche, but along that way, I also realized I didn't want to work for somebody. So, but I didn't know that until I got out there and worked for a large company. And, you got to, in my opinion, I would highly recommend, even if you have a business that you've started, is to go out there and work for a large corporation, understand the ins and outs of what happens. I look back at that, and that was invaluable to me as I started my venture into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's great. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, one of the biggest places where ideas come from entrepreneurs is prior experience. And I think also a lot of entrepreneurs have that skill set in a particular discipline, but they don't necessarily have the business skills. They might be incredibly technical, they might be incredibly, great at, they might have invented a product, but they don't necessarily have those skills for sales. They don't have those skills for understanding some of the financial aspects. So it sounds like you got a lot out of that management training program.
I did.
Because there are so many students that sometimes I think it's hard to kind of connect what you learn in college with your business experiences. And so as you think about those early experiences, and we'll very much get into your entrepreneurial journey as well, what things do you look back on that you took from MSU that maybe you kind of have infused into your career? If it's hard skills, soft skills, things that maybe you brought from here.
Yeah, I mean, I look at what I would do is take the classes that you really enjoy and get the most out of them. The professors and the TAs that you really enjoy and you connect with, and get more out of those individuals and people, and because they can really help and teach you. If I look back, I wish I would have done that in a couple of my marketing classes. If I would have taken a little bit more time, a little bit more energy, and the things that I was really interested in, I would have gotten a little bit more out of it. Because those were some really cool classes. For me, I really enjoyed my marketing classes. That was kind of one thing that just stood out to me. But I can just, if I can just impart anything, is please take your time. If you really enjoy a class, and if you enjoy the class and maybe you're not getting as much out of it because maybe the professor, go talk to that professor or that TA. Explain that you have a passion for that particular subject and spend a little bit more time in it. Because let me tell you something, you may not think so, but this goes fast, and you guys are going to be out of here. Take advantage of it right now. Like I said, those are things I look back on. I wish I would have taken a little bit more time, and spent a little more time with my teachers.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love that. We like you. We want to see you. We want to get to know you.
See?
Please come see me. Please come talk to me. So that's great. No, I think it is hard to kind of, to always understand that when you're so in it. So I'm sure everyone wants to hear about Atwater Brewing, but as you made that transition from the automotive industry and really having a career in that area, how did you get from there to beverage, and what kinds of skills were you able to translate into that, or can you talk a little bit about how you made that transition?
Sure. So that's an interesting one. So I knew that I didn't want to work in corporate anymore. But that's easier said than done. So what are you going to do? You're going to quit your job and start a business? Okay, that's door number one, okay?
Parents don't like that usually.
Yeah. So I look at the box, right? High risk, could be high risk, high reward, could be high risk, low reward, right? So you got to look at those options as you go. So I just got to a point where I understood one aspect of it. So I actually got into, so if you go buy a car and you go to the finance office or the car dealership, they try to sell you an extended warranty. That's what I got involved with two partners, and we had our own extended warranty program, and we marketed that to car dealers across the country through 85 independent agents. So we saw an opportunity. We were lucky enough that our insurance company backed us and gave us a little bit of seed money, so that was important, right?
Yeah.
So we could live. We were also young, wasn't married, didn't have a family at that point, so that was a little bit easier. And but that worked out really well, and that kind of jump-started my entrepreneurship, blood flowing, and like, all right, let's go. And at that same time, I started homebrewing in Boston when Sam Adams started becoming popular in late 80s and early 90s, and that was my passion. And the third part of that was moving back to Detroit in 97. I wanted to start a business in the city of Detroit. That time, it was reeling. I wanted to be part of the Renaissance, to see that city come back. And I walked into Atwater Brewery, and they had just opened up. They were the third permit in Michigan
Wow.
for being able to brew beer on premise. Back before that, you couldn't do that. So I walked in, said, this is what I want to do. I want to be in the beer business. And so I ended up becoming friends with the ownership at that particular time, buying kegs, being a good customer. And then I ended up investing in 2002 and moved my offices over there at the time and was able to be around the operations for 3 years and really study it before I jumped in head first, which is what I did in 2005. I ended up buying them out. And then went home and told my wife, when I had 3 young kids at home, that I bought a brewery. And she doesn't even like beer, so that didn't go over well.
Oh, boy.
But she's okay now. Everything's fine.
I'm sure.
So that was it. I mean, and,
Wow.
and I was kind of told the story earlier today is, I got 3 business lines of credit. I put everything I had in the bank account, and I bought this business. And I look back at it, and would I have done it again? Sure, but at that point, I thought I had enough working capital. I thought I had the know-how, and you just have to have that tenacity. And I think if you look back at it, that's what kept me going every day. Is you got your good days and your bad days, the overnight success that takes 20 years. And it was blood, sweat, and tears, but it was all worth it because it was my passion. I knew I was going to make it work, and you got to define yourself in those difficult times and power through it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of courage to make a transition like that. And so I wondered, in looking at the timeline, did you work a little bit, did you continue to have some income as you were starting, your investment with Atwater until you made that full-time jump? Or did you really make that investment? What gave you the courage to do that, I guess?
Well, a little bit of craziness. You need, whatever. You just got to have blind faith in a lot of it, too. But yes, I didn't pull a salary for the first 4 years.
Wow.
I had to pay, my employees. That was number one. And people have always asked, what are you most proud of, selling your company and all this? I go, no, I never missed a payroll. Had 105 employees. Those 105 employees relied on me and their families, right? That was more important. And so you need to understand when you're going into this is that is a big part. If you're going to have employees that they're under your responsibility, and you have to take that very seriously. So I just didn't pull a salary. I was able to keep my other business going for a certain period of time until we got to a point where I could start pulling some money out of there. Mm-hmm. And I remember then we got to 2005. The revenue started jumping up, and things were going a little bit better. And then 08 and 09 hit, and the recession hit. And there's tumbleweeds going down the street in downtown Detroit, and no one's coming in, and no one's buying the beer. And, you go through those difficult times. We muscled through that, and, I'll never forget it. We were a couple weeks from folding the doors. Founders Brewery has a very similar story. We talked about it all the time. They started a year before us. They had a beer called Bolt Cutter. So their bank came in and padlocked the doors. They came in and cut the bolts, kept brewing. So those are stories that are true and happen because you got to just grind it out. And so I grinded it out. I had a great team. I had great employees. And then we just started skyrocketing and having some real great times from 2011 all the way through 2020 when I sold.
That's amazing. And we're going to get to that sale in a few minutes. I just want to follow up on, you talked a little bit about your passion. And when we spoke earlier, you talked about some of the pros and cons of following your passion, right? A lot of entrepreneurial quotes or textbooks say to students, follow your passion. If you're in, you might see some signs to hang on your wall to follow your passion. And I think that there's a lot of good and bad, but what has been your experience with passion as it relates to business?
Yeah, it's a great topic, and as one earlier on, I thought that's all you did. You just follow your passion. You got your gut. This is what I want to do. I'm going to go for it. And that's great, but what I've realized over time is a lot of times you're really good at something else that may not be your passion, right? So maybe that's your day-to-day, and that's what you're going to do every day to make money. That gives you the ability in your off time to work on your passion, right? Now, if you can combine those two, I was lucky enough to do that and ran a successful business that I was very passionate about. But that doesn't mean that that's the only way to go about having a successful business. I think it's really important to understand and know that now. Because if all you want to do is follow your passion, but you can't make a really good living at it, and you can't support your business, does that make any sense? No, right? So I think that's really important in the beginning as you guys are looking, if you have or you're looking at it right now, make sure you understand the revenue stream, make sure you understand the industry, make sure you can make a living at it and a really successful business model.
Thanks. You sold your business and stayed on afterwards for the transition for a bit. So can you talk a little bit about the pros and cons, the highs and lows of staying on after you sell your business that maybe was your baby and your focus for so long?
Yeah, it was for me. It was a unique situation because when I bought Atwater, I knew that I wanted to grow it to a point and sell it to one of the large strategic partners out there. So because I knew that early on in the beginning, that was kind of always in the back of my mind. Didn't have to be that way. So we came out of 2008 to 2011 and started growing again. But I saw the headwinds coming into the craft beer market. We went from nationally, there was about 2,000 breweries nationally. And a year and a half later, now we have over 9,000. So your competition is much more fierce. Pricing is fierce. The big guys out there are pushing down on you. And in my industry, it costs a lot of money. CapEx spend on equipment was very intense. And so my next move, in order for us to grow, had to spend a lot of money upgrading our facilities, buying a new facility, buying new equipment. So it was the right time to have that conversation to kind of move that brand in the right direction, and it is. It's with Molson Coors. So that took about a year and a half. We hired an investment banking company. We went through, couldn't even tell you how many hours of going through our financial statements, making sure those all looked, exactly the way that they wanted to see them. And it was a lot. It was pretty intense. Didn't know if it was going to happen. But we got to the point where, an offer came in, it made sense, we negotiated on it, and we signed a purchase agreement in January of 2020. And we all know what happened a month later, right?
Good call.
COVID hits, right? Good call. But in the contract, yes, there was an out provision there if there was a pandemic.
Really?
Yes, of some sort. It didn't say exactly, like, if COVID hits, no, it didn't say that. But. So there was an option, but, we were far enough along, and it made sense, and we closed in June of 2020. So it happened. It was, I always have that in the back of my mind because it's my baby. All those brands I created, but it was the right time, the right place, not only for the business and the employees, but for my family and me too. So that it kind of all worked out really well. And then, as you mentioned, I stayed on for about 18 months and did some transition. It was a publicly traded company, so a lot of different ways that you had to do your day-to-day business. You had to close your books and send the financial reports into the corporate office by the third day of the following month. Very strict guidelines, and that's great. But I'm an entrepreneur, so I found out within about a year, like, it's time to me to transition on, which is fine. So found another president that's running the company right now. She came in, she's from Detroit, I know her. So that's good. The brand's in a good spot, and it gave me the opportunity to be at home for 3 days. My wife said, you need to get out of the house. And so then I jumped right back into my next ventures.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing the FÜL beverages. Again, please try them if you'd like over on the table after the presentation. So can you talk about, so you finished this venture, you maybe took a little bit of time to sort of take a few breaths, hopefully take a vacation. And now you're back in the beverage industry in a totally different way. So can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with the FÜL idea and all the, in the future of what you're looking for?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things I always wanted to make was a non-alcoholic craft beer. We didn't have the technology at Atwater to do that, so that was the first thing. And then as I was thinking through that, I saw one of my son's friends had a can of Monster, and I said, I'm just going to look at that. And I looked at the ingredients, and I'm like, why are you drinking that, right? I mean, that is horrible. And so, no offense to Monster, but so I said, you know what? It makes a lot of sense. Why don't we have a craft functional energy drink? You know, just like craft beer, right? So more locally centric, more better for you, better ingredients. And so I formed FÜL, and I wanted it. One thing we talk about on the brand is fuel your quest for alchemy, right? And alchemy is about extending your life, Zen in life, and that's what I wanted to accomplish by this product, is to be able to put a better, functional, all-natural, zero sugar. We don't even use sucralose in our product. We use monk fruit and stevia as a sweetener. And then we added a functional attribute to the energy side, which is called Wellmune, which is scientifically proven to boost your immune system. So all those things together said, all right, we're going to go. It's an extremely competitive market, but one that I know I'm a big fan and believer in test marketing, crawl, walk, run. You don't have to go everywhere right away. So we're about 10, 11 months in, and we're doing really well. For those 10 or 11 months and having fun with it. You know, I already know the distribution side of things, so it was fairly easy for me to jump back into the beverage side. So you have to sell through a distributor to get to a Meyer or a Kroger or, you know, Spartan Spirits. And so I kind of understood that model. And we're co-packing right now. I don't have a facility yet, but my umbrella brand is called Detroit Liquid Ventures, and within that, FÜL will be part of that. We're going to build a full-scale production beverage facility in Detroit where we're going to make FÜL, all the FÜL products, all the NA products. We're going to be back into regular strength beer, ready to drink cocktails, and canned water. Canned water, all right? Because you're not going to be able to buy plastic bottles pretty soon. So. Really? No.
You heard it here first.
I was just in Boston, the state of Massachusetts. You can't go buy a 24-pack of, you know, the 12-ounce plastic bottles anymore. So aluminum is much more sustainable from a recycling perspective, and so it's coming. And so we're going to jump on that.
Wow. So as you were formulating FÜL and coming up with this, you know, how did you educate yourself? Because I think we have a lot of times we have students that want to start a venture, but they don't have all the answers. They don't know, you know, all the pieces to get to that. So did you do it through partnerships? Did you research it on your own? Like, how did you come up with you know, the formulations that you did?
Sure. So formulation-wise, on the NA beer side, because I was in that world, that was a little bit easier. Still very, very difficult to make a really good non-alcohol craft beer because you actually have to brew it down to strength, and it's really difficult to do that. But we found the right brewmaster that had the right recipe and the right formulation, so that we got that done. These drinks are very, very difficult because there's so many ingredients in them. Our vitamin pack in here is pretty spectacular. I really love it. You know, the BCAAs and all the B vitamins, the electrolytes, the Wellmune factor, all those I had to source individually from 15 different suppliers.
Wow. To
be able to get that to our chemist who was up in British Columbia to bench it, and then we had to send all of our flavors. So we use all natural. So this has blood orange. So this is it's all natural blood orange extract. So it's not fake. You don't have that fake flavor profile at the end of it. But we had to supply all that, get it to our chemist. They had to bench it in their lab and send us samples in cans, and we had to prove the flavor profiles. All that took about 8-9 months to get the first 3 flavors that we came out with.
Wow.
So pretty intense, a little bit more than I thought. It always is. It always, whatever you're going to get into, it's going to take a lot longer than you think it is. Times it by 2. So.
Wow. And so, I mean, obviously you're very passionate about this product as well. It sounds like you have a big plan for the future with it. Where do you see these industries going? The energy drink market, the non-alcoholic drink market?
Yeah, non-alcoholic craft beer is the fastest growing segment of beer. So that's great. Just some interesting tidbits, like Europe, for example. 12% of all the beer that is purchase and consume in Europe is non-alcoholic. In the US, it's 2%. So, and we have a lot of room to grow. So that's great. That's a positive scenario there. So really all of the NA products, we're going to dive into non-alcohol wine, mocktails, all those kinds of things. And, you know, I know we're in a college town here, so you might not realize it here, but you go to New York City, there's NA bars now, and so it's a thing. It's happening. You can go online right now and have them shipped to your house. I mean, they have NA, you know, gin and vodka and all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting to see where this is all going to go. I think it'll plateau out at a certain level, but there's a need. Customers want it, and I don't think the better for you is going anywhere. People want to live a healthier life.
Yeah.
You know, the younger 21 to 30-year-olds are not drinking alcoholic products as much as they used to. And so things have shifted. And so it's just great to be able to supply products that customers are actually looking for. And that's what we're doing.
Is it something that you think you might eventually choose to exit as well and, you know, and go on to the next venture or something else? Or is that not even in your mind right now?
It's always in the mind. And I recommend everybody, when you're thinking about your business and starting a business, is think about where you want to be in 5 years and where you want to be in 10 years, right? You may or may not sell, or you may or may not hold on to that company, but have a plan. Think about it. You know, so you're never too early stage to kind of have, you know, plot that plan. So for me, we're gonna drive it. And if there's somebody knocks on the door, then we're going to look at it. You know, we look at every opportunity. I always have. So we'll see. It's a very fluid industry from an M&A perspective. There's always buyers out there, and you have Constellation Brands and Molson Coors and Anheuser-Busch, and there's just so, you know, Coke and Pepsi, and they're always looking for great, innovative brands that are growing that they can bring into their fold.
Right.
And a lot of times it's a win-win, because it's hard to scale once you get to a certain level. You know, we're going to be fine, but if we need to really scale, we're probably going to have a good strategic partner to get us there.
So as you think about, you know, about the future and about developing these, what was I going to ask? I don't know. I was thinking about these young entrepreneurs and just the idea of sort of, you know, building your business, of growing your business, of, you know, of taking these steps to look for strategic partners in the future. What advice do you have to them for building their, you know, for better understanding trends? So, you know, you certainly understand the trends in those markets. You obviously do a lot of research or have a lot of great partners that help you to understand those trends. How can they help to understand the trends in the markets that they're interested in for their businesses? What do you recommend? Resources, websites, other kinds of things?
Yeah, you know, look, you know, knowledge is power, as we all know, but research and metrics are everything that we're doing these days. So I don't care what you're involved with, whether it's an AI product or, you know, you have a service or an online platform, or you got an app that you're going to want to come out with. Your research is everything, and you can never do enough legwork in the beginning. That's what I would highly recommend, and you're probably doing that anyway. Do more. And keep looking out. So, you know, in the CPG world, you know, consumer products, I know how to get to market, right? So whatever that product is, if it needs to go into retail or if it's an e-commerce platform, really study those, you know, the top 4 or 5 players in whatever you're going into. I'm also a big proponent is you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? If there's somebody else out there that's doing it and doing it well, find out how they're doing it, right? And then one thing I was talking at lunch today about, we have 3 pillars in ours, but that 3rd pillar is point of difference. Why is somebody, whether it's a consumer, a retailer, a distributor, whoever, why are they going to use your product or service? You have to have a point of differentiation, and you have to have that big bell and whistle that's going to say, I got to go with this company for that reason. So always think through that when you're looking, you know, getting your business plans together. That's, you know, have that point of difference. Think through it. Why are they going to do business with you? Why are they going to buy your product?
Yeah, that's excellent advice. I'm going to ask one of my last questions a little selfishly. So I'm teaching a class focused a lot on customer discovery, so talking to customers and and involving them in the process as you develop it. So how do you know your products are good? How did you know that the beers you were brewing were good? How do you know that your fuel drinks are good? How do you figure that out, besides maybe you thinking it's good?
Yeah. Well, I figured out, talk about mistakes, right? Things, I made a lot of mistakes,
please.
right? Try not to make them again. And that's, I'm like, I'm going to just make lagers. That's all I'm going to make because that's what I like to drink. Wrong decision, right? IPAs were going crazy. And so you have to shift. You got to look at what the consumer wants. You have to think outside the box. Don't think within your brain. That's why you got to look at research and what's going on. You might have a really good idea, but you want to tweak it towards what the consumer is looking for. And I think that's what's key right there. One of the things we did is we did a beer naming competition. We did a lot of focus groups. So we brought people in. We blind tasted. Which one do you like better? Then we would do the same thing with our logos and our branding.
Really?
Which brand do you like? We get their opinions on it. So the Dirty Blonde, which was Atwater's #1 seller, still is. We had a beer naming competition. We had 250 people at the brewery. And we gave them the beer and we said, name it. And they put their names in a hat and we had 5 of us and Dirty Blonde won. So, she won Dirty Blonde for a year and we got a name for the beer and it worked. So those are kind of, that's really how you get the consumer involved and on an early basis. I don't care what the product or service is, get them involved early. Test market.
Yeah, that's great. So what general advice do you have for these students interested in entrepreneurship? Clearly you've enjoyed the ventures that you've had. You continue to, be engaged and interested. What's the advice you find giving the most, or what do you think was the best advice you got?
World domination.
Wow.
You're going to do anything you want to do. If you put your mind to something, you're going to be able to accomplish it, right? Just do your research. Make sure that you're going into something that is a viable from a financial perspective. That's all. As long as that's there, you're always going to have the naysayers. You're going to have people that say you can and can't do things. Forget about that. Go for it, but make sure that you do it in the right way. I just went bullheaded head first into mine, and I'm glad it worked out. But I think that if I would have looked back, I would have probably taken a little bit more time and make sure that I was funded a little bit better. So make sure that you got your business plan in order, make sure you got your funding, times it by 2, whatever it is.
Great advice.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's it, and make sure you network. Look at this is phenomenal, right? You'll be able to get my information. You can email me, call me at any time, and I'll be happy to jump on a call, Zoom, whatever, and talk through what you're thinking. But use those resources for people that have already been out there and done that. That's what I would do. But whatever you want to do, if you really want to do it and you think it's a viable opportunity, go for it. Don't let anybody tell you can't.
Great. All right. Well, that's excellent advice. And let's end my part on that note. And let's open it up to some student questions. Sound good?
Perfect.
All right. So we have some volunteers in the back who might have some microphones. We have a question over here. So give us just a second to get the mic to you, and we'll take your question. All right. Allison has one for you there.
Hello. Hey, my name is Keon Morris. I don't really need the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. You go ahead.
Talk
I can hear you.
Hey, my name is Keon Morris, and today I just wanted to ask, were you interested in doing like student internships and stuff like that too?
We're always interested in people that are interested in us. So yes, reach out.
All right. Other questions? Yes.
I was just
sorry.
wondering, when you were a student or like in high school as well, did you have any part-time jobs that you thought really helped you in this position now?
Wow, great question. Well, I gotta give my dad credit for that, which is work ethic. I always worked. I'd have either 1 or 2 jobs in high school. I worked through college. When I was here, I bartended. So that kind of got me going in that and on that side. Not that I wanted to bartend or maybe own a bar, but I understood that world, so that helped out. But the main thing was work ethic. Is I don't care what you're doing, but work. I was stocking shelves and busting my tail, and there's nothing better. If you outwork the person next to you, you're all set. And do it. I'm telling you. When I see it, the people that I've hired over the years, the ones that have the biggest work ethic are the ones that are most successful right now.
This isn't really a question. Kind of it is, but I just wanted to speak on when you stated that you were, so basically that we should have like something that's going to fund our passion, like working or whatever. So me, for example, I started my business, but I chose to major in nursing and take a business minor. So I wanted to ask, like, for something like that, do you feel like that'll be like too much? Because like you want to have something to fund, but you also don't want to put too much into something else and that'll take away from your passion.
Well, is your passion in your business, do you feel it's very viable?
Yes.
Okay. In nursing, it takes a lot of time.
Right.
It's very time consuming. But all I can tell you is do you need to start your passion or your business right now? So that's the only thing I'm telling you is that I think it's so important for you to go out and work first, and whatever that is. And you can do it simultaneously. It's a little bit harder in nursing, I know what you're saying, because you're really going to be working a lot. So you're not going to have a lot of downtime to work on your passion and your business. That's a tough question because, the only thing I can tell you is it really depends on how confident you are on your business model and how much money you need to raise to make that successful, because you have to make a living at the same time too. So you're studying nursing right now?
Yes.
How far along?
Well, I haven't joined the program yet.
Okay.
On my prerequisites. But because I'm doing my prerequisites, I have time now to study like my passion, do my background research. But eventually it's like I'm gonna have to take away from that to focus on nursing a little bit more.
During your time here at MSU, sorry, I can't get my mic on.
You're
Come
fine.
to the Burgess Institute. Maybe we can help you get a little further along while you're here at MSU. Come find me. I'll give you my
Yeah,
card.
we'll find it.
All right.
Good question.
Lots of resources here.
Right. So you graduated from MSU with a BA in business, right?
Correct.
So obviously you had a lot of experience, you made your business, you sold it, and then you started again, but with all this experience that you got over the years, if you could start again as a freshman at MSU, what would you do different?
Woo! Yeah, let's go. Good question. Yeah, without a doubt, I would. If I was a freshman and I was starting, I would have applied myself a lot sooner. My 1.9 that I got my first semester, probably not the best decision I ever made. But I think it also, slapped me upside the head and said, get your act together and get going. But it was different back then. So we didn't have to get into business school was your junior year. So your first 2 years, you're just. Is it the same right now? If you're not a direct admit.
I think there are a couple other times you can get in.
You can.
I don't know. I've only been here a year. Please don't judge my lack of knowledge.
I would have taken more challenging classes than ones that I would have been more interested in, versus easier classes in the first year or two. Because all I was trying to do is get your credits down and then get to the business school. I just think there's so many opportunities for you guys to just take some really unique classes right now and use it. I mean, there's a lot going on, so that would be the first thing I would have done if I was a freshman is, I'd apply myself a lot sooner. Yeah.
Would you change your major?
That's a good question. So, it was general business. No, I think I would have stayed with that because although my passion or more interest was in marketing versus just general business, I'm glad that I was able to get, the other classes under my belt before I went out. So I would have kept it the same.
Oh, wow. Lots of questions. A few over here. one
Yeah,
over
go.
there.
How much would you say would have happened in college and how much happened outside of college?
As far as what, your street, you learn a lot when you're out of look, at the end of the day.
Even when you're in college, you're probably doing other things. So
Yeah.
did you learn more in classes or doing things outside?
Outside. But I'd have to say this because it's a lot different now. I just think that you guys have so much more of an opportunity in class now with things like this. We never had any of this. All it was lectures and tests. We didn't have any of this stuff, right? So take advantage of this. I think you guys have such a big opportunity. So mine was more outside. You know, I got, you know, the book knowledge and everything, but it was the hard knocks and the things that I learned outside and the people that I associated myself with and the jobs that I had. And the jobs that I had were because I was here. So a quick story on that is the reason I got hired with Toyota is because Bob McCurry was the top American at Toyota. And his nickname was Captain Crunch, and he was on the 55 National Championship football team. And he said, "You're going to go back and recruit at Michigan State." And so he came back here to recruit, or they came back here to recruit. It's the only reason I got a job there, which catapulted me to move to Boston. To, you know, everything's done for a reason, and that's, you know, so hopefully that answered your question. A little bit more outside, just because I didn't have these opportunities that you guys have. Yeah, back there.
So out of a venture, out of like 3 aspects of team, marketing, and product, which one do you think would be like the most important?
I think it depends on the product. If it's in ours, you always start with team, because if you don't have a good team, what do you have? But for us, because we started lean and mean, so take fuel, for example. This is about the product. And the product, there's 3 things they look at. First thing, and every buyer and anybody that's in our industry is taste, okay? If it doesn't taste good, it doesn't matter what the marketing is. It doesn't matter what it looks like, right? Second thing is your logo and your design and how it looks on the shelf. So that's your number 2. The third is the point of difference. Those are the 3 pillars that you have to have in a CPG product when you're going out to market, if it's, especially if you're, whether it's a food item or a beverage item. As you grow, your team is everything, because if you don't have the right team, you're never going to be able to scale that. So I think you got to, it's kind of a twofold question, right? Marketing's completely changed over the last 5 years. It completely flipped. You know, influencers and NIL and all those things. So we're looking at right now, you know, Prime is a perfect example. Who drinks Prime here? Anybody drinking a Prime before? Okay, Logan Paul.
So sweet.
Influencer. Oh. They gave him 10% of the company. Now it's a $250 million company and growing. So those are, it's just different ways to go about marketing. So marketing has really changed. That would be 3. I had a terrible boss, and I didn't like him. So that's reality, you know. And that was when I was working for Toyota out in Boston. I just said, you know, I went home one night. I'm like, I got to figure something out. I don't want to do this the rest of my career. Is, you know, having a bad boss and hating my work. I didn't like what I was doing, right? So I said, the only way you can change that is if you're the boss and you're doing your own deal, right? So that's kind of how I shifted from corporate to my own. But all I can say is entrepreneurship and owning your own company is also not for everybody. So make sure you understand before you dive in, right? Because once you're in, you're in. So that doesn't mean you can't get out or transition back out and go back to a corporate job or whatever. But just really think through it, because you have to have that mentality that, you know what, it's, you know, bootstrap it and go. So hopefully that answered your question, yeah.
So I'm doing marketing as well right now as my major. But with your experience now and knowing like what entrepreneurship is like, if I want to be an entrepreneur now, what elective should I take while still in university to get the best out?
I would need to know all the electives.
Exactly.
I don't really know what those are.
Well,
There's
in the
probably 100 of
entrepreneurship
them.
and innovation minor, we have 70 plus electives.
70 electives.
But, you know, I would say, you know, a lot of the content you can learn yourself in terms of, like, you know, if you're a coder and you want to build that app, that's, you know, that's great. I think having some of the foundational classes in terms of, you know, how do you think about the business? How do you actually put, you know, how do you write a business plan? What are investors looking for? You know, having a good foundational knowledge, it helps you reduce the risk. So I think, you know, understanding, you know, finance is really important. Cash flow management, incredibly important. A lot of great businesses go out of business because they couldn't manage their cash flow. You know, they they had great ideas. They got a huge order. They couldn't fulfill it, and so they're.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
oh, we got a huge order. Let's go. Oh, yeah.
With what money?
With what money, and and then
Yeah.
but the other one on that is I'm just going to produce all my product without the big order,
Yeah.
and then you stare at the product and you're like, where am I selling that, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing whether you're a coder or you're trying to do an app or you're AI or you got to understand, when you're starting, who's my customer, right? Is it chicken egg, right? Do I go get the customers first, or do I build this amazing platform? And I think a lot of that has to do with anybody that's doing that online business, meaning website driven or app or whatever, service based, and you have that widget, you have that amazing capability. Build it great, but make sure it's funded properly, because then you got to go market it, right? Because you might have this amazing, platform that nobody else has, but I don't have any money to go market it and to get it to anybody.
Yeah.
So that's why, all aspects of the business are so important, right? So go look at those 70 electives and try to get as many as you can that you think are going to be applicable to what you want to do.
I've had a question over here
right
for
here.
a while in the first row.
When it comes to breaking into already very competitive markets such as energy drinks, how do you identify what can separate you from the rest of the competition and bring customers who might already be attached to things like Monster or Red Bull?
Yeah, and that's a tough one, because we know that. I mean, it is hyper competitive. Everybody is in the energy drink category, and that's why we're separating ourselves, and we're saying functional beverage. So by having an all-natural craft energy drink with no sucralose that has Wellmune, we're adding a functional attribute to it. So in all of our marketing materials, when we talk to Meijer and Kroger and Whole Foods, for example, to get into Whole Foods, you have to meet their criterion of they want to know every ingredient that you have in your product. And if you have something in there that they don't like, you're out. You're not getting in. So these are all things you got to think about when you're coming out with a product, right? So we meet that criterion. So we're going to be in all the Whole Foods. We're in the Trader Joe's in Metro Detroit. It's our #1 account right now. Wow. Because they saw our ingredient list and they wanted us in there. And there's not a lot of products in a Trader Joe's. So we know that, and that's why we're not trying to be in every convenience store and gas station tomorrow. We know it's going to take time to get there. So we have to prove it along the way.
Yeah,
So
that's
with a
great.
point of difference. So
Let's take one more.
one more.
I'll let you pick. You pick.
Oh, great. And I'll be around after too.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. But
Okay.
all the way in the back. Sorry. Yes. That's a great question. I'm glad I picked you.
Hire her.
You're the best. Okay, yeah. So there's a couple, both of those products are in a little bit. So our 2 non-alcohol craft beers are in all the Meijer stores in Michigan. And most all the Meijer stores have our Blood Orange and our Berry lit in the energy section up on the shelf. So the Meijer stores like Lake Lansing and Okemos have them in right now. And then you'll start seeing them a lot more, because this is my #2 market to Detroit, and over the next 6 months, you're going to start seeing Fuel everywhere.
And then in terms of like your energy source, I haven't seen Coffee Berry in any other like energy drinks. Are you guys one of the only companies that use that, or is that like a newer thing? I'm like just not familiar with it.
Yeah, it's because it's natural versus synthetic caffeine. So that's why we use that. We're not the only ones. Others do, but we try to call it out a little bit more.
Great. Well, I'll turn it over to Chris. Thank you very much for your time here.
Yes.
Is that okay, Chris? I don't know. Sorry.
I just want to say, Mark, thanks again so much for spending the day with us on campus. I know you were here earlier today talking with some of our students at the Hatch. And I didn't mention before, you're not just an engaged volunteer, proud advocate, but you're also a donor. There's a scholarship in your name that we're going to be awarding tomorrow to a lucky student here at Michigan State in our program. So on the behalf of our whole community, just want to thank you again so much for everything you do for our program.
Go
Really
green.
appreciate it.
Go White. Woo. Thank you.
Thank you. Good stuff.